Hey everybody, this is Wayne and I'm back again with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the YU9 Audio Chue. So if you've never heard of YU9 Audio or the chue before, it's spelled Q-U-E, but as a Western word, but it's actually pronounced chue, which is the Chinese word. Kind of went underneath the radar a little bit until some of these shows like Can Jams in London, I believe, and a few of the other shows where word of mouth really began to hype this up. And I know right now, as far as the main retailer for it, it's Elise Audio. So I'm going to link that for everybody below. I had a chance to listen to it first at one of the Can Jams. Mr. Craft, aka Lee, formerly Elysian, he actually brought it with him to SoCal, so I had a chance to listen to it there. And then at Dallas Can Jam, FC Construct actually brought it while he was working the Linsol booth, and I had a chance to actually bring it over to the Music Type booth to have people listen to it as well. So ultimately, the YU9 Audio Chue is a pretty damn good release, honestly. I think it's very good IEM, but that's a quick early spoiler alert. This unit was actually provided to me from a friend of the channel. I'm going to shout him out, Kay. I really appreciate you. Thank you, buddy. Well, let's get into it. I have a quick B-roll. So the chue has two different color variations to it. You have either the silver or the gunmetal. You can get it in 3.5 or 4.4, and there is an upgrade cable available as well. It's a one dynamic driver with 3 BAs. And the dynamic driver obviously handles the bass, and the BAs handle the mids and highs. Currently retails for about $399 US, but you can get it with an upgrade cable while that is about $219.99. Again, it's available primarily through Elise, and there's other retailers you could probably pick it out from or secondhand. So what makes the YU9 Audio Chue special is it just kind of very unassumingly hit the market and really kind of took people's attention by storm because it provides very good balanced tonality, more on the neutral side, that really works well and I think scales super well depending on what equipment you're using. But let's get into the unboxing experience and then let's get into, well, the sound itself.
Okay, so this is the unboxing experience for the YU9 Audio Chue. Now, it comes in a pretty nice sized box. Kind of talks about the serial number and the termination on the cable that's packaged with it. Let's go ahead and slide this off on yonder. And there's a little, it talks about the YU9 Audio Que. And then this is the actually very nice carrying case. It's got a little nice strap and it's pretty substantial, good size. I'm gonna go into the other parts first, but this is kind of a little marketing material. Well, it talks a little bit about the technical details. Put that over there. You get a case with all the tips. So these are the stock tips. Kind of remind me of the FIO HS20. And actually what I really liked was this little piece comes off at the bottom and you can kind of see it's like the serial number, and it's just a really nice decoration. Really nice touch, very classy. Now, let's open the box, or the carrying case itself. And inside of it, you have the chue. Put this off to the side real quick. Some more tips. A microfiber cloth to clean, and a clip for the cable so that you can listen to it. And you know, interior is pretty nice, pretty standard kind of case. Let me work with the cable real quick. So the cable itself, actually, what I like about the cable is this is kind of very black, sleek. The material feels nice in hand, ladies, and wraps pretty well. It's a very nice cable. It kind of reminds me, and I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it's like exactly the same, but it reminds me a little bit of like the RN6 cable. It's just a very nice, soft feeling cable. Not much as far as like marketing on the cable itself. Not a big deal, but it's very nice. And then we have the actual unit itself. So fit-wise, it actually fits pretty well in the ear. Doesn't protrude, doesn't have anything that sticks out. You kind of see how it's like a shimmering group of waves. Yeah, works really well. Fits really well. Looks really nice. Very just sleek. It is recessed 2-pin, and you kind of see the cable itself is recessed 2-pin cable. And I'm gonna make sure I'm doing it right, but when you do actually have it plugged in, the cable does stick out a little bit, and you kind of see it there. It's not too major. It's just not like I wish it would flush. It was flush, but it's not that big of a deal at the grand scheme of things. The lip technically is kind of smooth-ish, but it catches really well with ear tips. I didn't have any issues with rolling, so I was able to use like the Final Type E, the Duno SNS, and they all worked out pretty well. I didn't have any concerns about tips fitting on it. It has just a little bit of a lip to catch, and nothing really came loose in my ear like some smooth nozzles do. Looking at some awful series stuff. Oh, kind of important. This is an example of me doing things live here, but might as well get a measurement on the actual nozzle lip itself. And we're looking about 5.8. Yeah, about 5.8. Yep. So, nozzle lip, not big, good size. This is the YU9 Audio Que.
So how does YU9 Audio Que sound? I would put it more on that neutral balanced side of kind of the presentation of music. So if you've listened to something like the Kiwi Ears KE4, I honestly think the chue is the next step up there. Maybe not as far as bass and the mid-range goes, maybe a bit more emphasis on female vocals, a bit more elevation there. But overall, I think it's more resolving, more technical, a bit more detailed, and a bit better separation overall to the KE4. So what you get with the chue is you get very good kind of balanced tonality, leaning in more towards that neutral side with a good elevation on the treble. The bass hits decently. It has good sub bass overall. It's not going to excite you if you're listening to a lot of like, EDM or hip hop. So if you listen to like Kendrick Lamar or, Justice or any type of EDM heavy music, if your library is predominantly that, the sub bass is okay. It's going to be, able to capture that, and you're not going to miss too much when you're listening to it in your, library or whatever playlist you have. It hits decently. It's not going to be the deepest sounding, but it does a decent job. The mid bass is punchy enough. If you have something with a lot of kick drums like Motley Crue Kickstart Your Heart, or anything with a lot of mid bass emphasis, it does a decent job there, and it's punchy enough to satisfy if you're listening. I think the detail and texture there is kind of what is nice on the bass part. It's not too emphasized, it's not too punchy, not too deep sounding. It's got really good details and texture, so if that's what you're looking for, this might shine a bit more to your ears or be more of your preference. The mid-range is very well tuned. I think the details and texture again are kind of really what shines in this case. I could use a little bit more note weight. I could use a little bit more warmth in the mid-range. The male vocals sound good, very natural-like, but there's just a small hint of missing some warmth there that I personally would enjoy. The mid-range, the details like, if you listen to a lot of string instruments, something like bass line, piano notes, they all sound very good. Female vocals is kind of where it shines, in my opinion. So I was listening to Florence and the Machine, Dog Days Are Over, and the vocals there are just very well handled. It's not too shouty, the proper amount of air, proper elevation. The vocals don't come off as too forward or too recessed back. It's placed pretty, naturally in a way, and I think it shines very well if you're listening to something with a lot of like K-pop or a lot of female vocal heavy music. The treble is kind of the special sauce in this case, and the resolution is very well done. It's got a good soundstage. The depth and the height of music that you're listening to, with orchestra tracks, something with a lot of cymbal crashes, anything with a lot of treble energy, it works really well here. It's not to the point where it's too peaky, or if you are treble sensitive, it might be on the cusp there, but I don't feel like it's pushed over too far to the point where it's going to be treble murder in your ear. I think it's pleasant sounding. I think it's controlled. It is a bit elevated on the upper treble. So again, if you are sensitive, I don't feel like it's going to be too bad. But that is something to be cognizant of. The treble's kind of where it stands out from like the KE4 or anything that's more of that neutral side. It does a very good job of soundstage and separation and details, and overall, it's a very pleasant tonality. It doesn't do anything too special as far as like the bass and mid-range goes, but the treble is kind of what brings it out. And if that's something you're looking for, something that's more neutral balanced with a bit more emphasis or air in the treble side, this is kind of going to be at the forefront of something you're looking for, especially under that sub $500 range. So how does YU9 Audio Que compare to other sets in that price bracket? And the price bracket I'm going to kind of focus in on is at $300 to $500, especially when it comes down to a sale or something like that. So the ones that come to the forefront of my mind is going to be the Hercules Audio Noah, the Zen's Top Pro, and I'd probably put the Braindance in there as well, kind of all similar sub 500, especially on sale. And I would say the Chue competes very well, especially on the kind of the upper mids treble side. If you're looking for something warmer, I would probably go with the Hercules Audio Noah. That's probably the bassier of the sets. If you're looking for something a bit more balanced, warmer, but still has excellent resolution and treble presentation, I'd probably have to stick with the Zen's Top Pro. If you're looking for something more neutral, inline, balanced, without giving too much treble energy, without giving up too much of the bass, or mid-range, or mid-bass, honestly, I would probably stick with the YU9 Audio Que. The Braindance is an excellent set that has that, neutral sub-bass boost. I think the Chue does the mid-range a bit better, but the treble with the Braindance is a little more special. It's extra zingy, there's extra energy there. It's a bit sharper without being too overbearing, in my opinion. And then the impedance adapter on tubes there, it kind of works really well with the Braindance. But out of the four, I would probably say the Hercules Audio Noah and the Zen's Top Pro are my top two choices. But it comes down to preference. So I prefer warmer IEMs, I prefer bassier IEMs, and that's why the Chue wouldn't necessarily rank as high. But for you, or for other people that might want that neutral balanced tonality, the Braindance or the Chue might end up being what you prefer more. So again, I think it competes very well. It doesn't have the deepest sounding bass, it doesn't have the more fuller, warmer type of mid-range, but it handles female vocals very well. The treble energy is very good. The resolution is pretty nice compared to some of the other IEMs. Maybe not as good as the Braindance, but that's a different set with microplanars there. Overall, it just kind of depends on what you're looking for, and I think the Chue does trade blows for everybody. Maybe doesn't overtake it to my preferences, but it may for you. So, other things to note with the Chue, and who is this IEM for? The Chue works really well with tip rolling. I wish the lip was a little bit more pronounced, a little bit grippier, but I didn't feel like there was any tips that I couldn't use on there, where it would be like not fitting well, or it would get lodged in my ear and come off. Like, that's a nightmare scenario, honestly. That happens way more often with smooth nozzles, and this is close to being too smooth for my taste, but it's good. It fits really well. It's a bit bigger in size, but it fits pretty well in ear when it's actually with a good tip. It works really well with like the Asla Mithril tip. I highly recommend that. That's probably my favorite ear tip right now, with really good like resolution added because of the metal, but doesn't lose any of the bass notes that some other metal tips have, like the Pentagon Courier. What I think actually, with the Chue, you can tip roll and you kind of fine tune what you want. But my favorite thing with the Chue is that it scales super well depending on what your source is. Cable rolling, the cable's fine. I don't necessarily think you need a cable roll too much unless you want to add like a copper on there and just add a little bit more warmth. But the best thing to do with the chue is to throw it on tubes. So, you know, I have the Shanling M8T, I've used a PB6 on there, I've used it on different tube setups, and it works phenomenally. I think that is the secret sauce there. It blends very well with the extra added warmth, keeping a lot of the treble energy and the extra resolution. It being toned down just a little bit makes it more pleasant sounding, and if I was to pick up the chue, I would absolutely keep it on tubes the entire time, just because you get the best of both worlds, and it kind of unlocks it to my taste. Overall, if you have a library that's got a mixture of different sounds, you have rock, hip hop, you have some orchestra, you know, classic rock, I think the chue does a very good job of playing all of those. Maybe not to the certain degree a bass head would want for the, you know, the EDM or hip hop music, but for classical or something with a lot of separation, jazz music, something with a lot of details or a lot of, you know, tracks that are kind of busier, I think the chue does a very good job of hitting those notes. And, you know, then the next track could be something with a bit more bass. You're not going to feel like you're missing too much. And then your next track could be something a little bit more of that singer-songwriter. So overall, I think the chue works for a wide variety of libraries. Maybe not to the point for a bass head, but for everybody else, I think it does a good job. So, in conclusion, the YU9 Audio Chue is a very good IEM that hits in that neutral, balanced tonality. If you are in the market for something sub 500, that does a very good job of presenting music in that neutral range with a good emphasis on the treble energy, good resolution, good separation, good details overall. You're not missing too much else on the bass. I think the chue does a very good job, and it's right in the forefront if that's your tonality preference, what you want to hear, what you want to listen to. If you have tubes, honestly, it does a really good job there too. So, you know, kind of unlocks it a little bit. Overall, I would give the chue a 4 out of 5. I think it does a very good job of presenting music in a very pleasant way. It's the next step up from like the Kiwi Ears KE4. I would say this is the upgrade. So if that's something you're looking for or you're in the market for, I would recommend the chue wholeheartedly. If you're looking for something bassier, you might find it in other ways or find it, find other IEMs to pick up instead. If you're looking for something that works really well as a jack of all trades and you have different sources where you have a neutral source and you have a tube source or warmer source, the chue can kind of fit both needs in a way. So overall, it just kind of depends on what you're looking for, and I think the chue does a very good job of capturing kind of that all-rounder vibe. But yeah, this is Make It Wayne, and thanks for watching.